It started like any other Saturday, lazy, uneventful, the kind I usually look forward to after a long week of work. Lila was out running errands, and I was enjoying the quiet of the house, sipping my coffee on the porch. The weather was perfect, just warm enough for a short-sleeve shirt but with a crisp edge to the breeze. I was flipping through the stack of mail, bills mostly, when the courier pulled up in front of the house. "James Monroe," the guy called out, holding up a medium-sized package. "Yeah, that's me," I said, waving him over. He handed me the box. It was a nondescript brown cardboard package, no logos or anything that might give away what was inside. I thanked him, and he went on his way. As I glanced down, I noticed it wasn't addressed to me. It was for Lila. That didn't strike me as odd right away, but something nagged at me. Lila hadn't mentioned ordering anything recently, and she usually did. I turned the package over in my hands, looking for a return address. Nothing. My mind started to whirl. I knew I shouldn't open it. I should have left it for Lila to explain when she got home. But there was something about that box, something that pulled at the pit of my stomach. I couldn't shake the feeling. I set my coffee down, and before I could stop myself, I was ripping through the tape. The flaps came loose, revealing what was inside. At first, I blinked, thinking there had to be some mistake. Two sleek, glossy boxes sat there, adult toys. And not just the standard stuff, either. These were elaborate, expensive. The kind of things Lila and I had never even talked about. My hands shook as I pulled them out, feeling as if I'd stumbled into someone else's life. Then I saw the note. It was just a small, plain piece of paper, tucked under the toys. I unfolded it slowly, my heart thudding in my chest. "Can't wait for our next time. Jay, next time." My mind went blank for a second, like it was refusing to process what I was seeing. Then the words sank in, and I felt a cold wave of nausea roll through me. I didn't know any Jay. Lila didn't know any Jay, at least, not that I was aware of. I stood there in the kitchen, the note trembling in my hand, trying to piece together the impossible. My thoughts were racing in a dozen directions, each one worse than the last. Was she cheating on me? Was there some other explanation for this? How long had this been going on? The room felt smaller, the walls closing in on me. My mind kept coming back to that name, Jay. Some faceless man, sending my wife things like this. It wasn't just the contents of the box, it was the tone of the note, the familiarity in it. He knew her, intimately. I shoved the items back in the box, my hands shaking. My stomach twisted at the thought of Lila, my Lila, laughing with this Jay, sharing things with him that she should have been sharing with me. I had never even imagined her with anyone else, Lila, who I thought I knew better than anyone. I needed to calm down. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. But no matter how I tried to convince myself, that note, those words, kept taunting me. The thought of confronting her made my heart pound with a mixture of fear and rage. I paced the kitchen, my mind spiraling into darker and darker places. Should I just wait for her to get home and ask her? Or would she lie to me, try to cover it up? The trust we'd built over 10 years felt like it was crumbling in front of me, piece by piece. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to think clearly. I couldn't just blindly accuse her. If I wanted the truth, I'd have to be smarter than that. I'd have to see how she reacted. That's when the idea hit me, set up a camera. If she was guilty, her face would give it away. I needed to see it, unfiltered. That night, while Lila was still out, I found the perfect spot in our bedroom, on the top shelf, nestled between the books, where it wouldn't be noticed. The camera was small, almost invisible, but the resolution was high enough to catch every detail. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me as I plugged it in. I'd never spied on her before, but something about this felt necessary. I needed the truth, and I wasn't sure she'd give it to me willingly. When Lila got home, she greeted me with her usual smile, leaning in to kiss me on the cheek. "Hey, babe," she said, putting her bag on the kitchen counter. "How was your day?" My stomach lurched as I forced a smile. Fine, I muttered. Nothing special. I watched her closely, trying to detect any sign of guilt, any indication that she had something to hide. But Lila was calm, the same as she always was, sweet, kind, like nothing was wrong. We ate dinner in relative silence that night, the weight of my thoughts making it impossible to have a normal conversation. She didn't notice my tension. Or maybe she was too good at pretending. Either way, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd found, about the camera recording our every interaction. Later, as she climbed into bed beside me, I lay there wide awake, staring at the ceiling. I could feel her warmth beside me, but it felt distant now, foreign. The woman I thought I knew was a stranger, and all I could do was wait. Wait for the truth to reveal itself. "Good night, James," Lila whispered softly, her voice gentle, innocent. I turned my head toward her, my throat tight with the weight of unspoken words. "Good night," I whispered back, though the warmth behind that word was gone. As I lay there in the darkness, I wondered if I was prepared for what I might find out, if I was prepared for the possibility that my life with Lila, everything we had built, was already over. It took 2 days for my mounting anxiety to reach a boiling point. Every morning, I watched Lila leave for work, wondering if she was meeting Jay, if they were laughing over coffee while I sat at home, an unwitting fool. Every evening, she returned with her same radiant smile, asking about my day like nothing was amiss. But I felt like a man standing on the edge of a cliff, peering into an abyss. The third night, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't keep this bottled up any longer. It was time to confront her, whether I was ready for the truth or not. I had spent the last 2 days obsessively watching the footage from the camera I'd set up, searching for any hint of guilt on her face, but it only deepened my confusion. She was perfectly normal. After dinner, I couldn't hold back any longer. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, and called her into the living room. "Lila, can we talk?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. She looked up from her book, surprise flickering in her eyes. "Sure, what's on your mind?" I paced a little, my heart racing, the note and the toys still vivid in my mind. "It's about the package I found." Her brows furrowed. "What package?" I pulled the box from the corner of the room, its presence looming large between us. I set it on the coffee table with a thud, watching her reaction closely. "This package. The one addressed to you." She hesitated, her gaze darting to the box and back to me. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play games with me, Lila," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "You know exactly what I mean." I opened it. I found these. I lifted the contents of the box, holding up the adult toys like evidence in a trial. Her cheeks flushed a deep crimson as she glanced at the items, then back at me. "James, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Who the hell is Jay?" I snapped, the name bursting from my lips like a gunshot. Her eyes widened, a mix of shock and fear. "Jay. James, I swear, it's not what you think. It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Lila?" "Because I'm having a hard time believing that this is just a misunderstanding," I said, my voice rising. "These aren't just random toys. They're intimate, personal. You don't just get these from a friend." Lila took a deep breath, her expression shifting from fear to something else, defensiveness, perhaps. "I haven't cheated on you, I promise." It's complicated." "Complicated?" I echoed, incredulous. "You're telling me you have an emotional relationship with someone named Jay, and that's complicated?" "James, please. Just listen to me," she pleaded, her voice quivering. "I haven't been unfaithful. Yes, I've been talking to him, but it started out as just a friendship. It's been hard for me to talk to you about everything, and he was just there." I felt a chill run down my spine at her words. "So you've been talking to him about what?" "Us. Your feelings. Why didn't you come to me?" "Because I didn't want to hurt you," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "I thought it was harmless at first. I thought I could handle it. But it got deeper, and I didn't know how to pull back." I shook my head, the betrayal stinging like a slap. You thought talking to someone else was harmless? How could you not see how wrong this is? I didn't think I was going to fall for him, she cried, frustration and pain seeping through her words. I was lonely, James. I wanted to feel wanted again. Lonely? I felt a wave of betrayal wash over me, mingled with heartbreak. So instead of coming to me, you chose to confide in someone else. You thought that would fix things. I thought it would help me sort out my feelings, she said, desperation in her voice. I was trying to figure things out. I never meant for it to go this far. I swear, I never. I cut her off, the anger boiling over. You should have thought of that before getting involved with someone else. This is unacceptable. I didn't mean to hurt you. Lila's voice cracked. I was confused. I just needed someone to talk to, and Jay, he understood me. I thought I was being honest with myself, but I was wrong. Honest? I spat, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. Honest would have been coming to me. Honest would have been telling me about this friendship before it turned into whatever this is. Her gaze dropped to the floor, shame evident in her posture. I know I messed up. I know I shouldn't have let it get this far. But I'm here now, and I want to fix this. I love you, James. The words felt hollow, like a faint echo of what they once meant. You love me? I repeated, disbelief dripping from my tone. And what about Jay? Do you love him? No, she cried, her eyes wide with panic. I don't love him. I made a mistake. Can't you see that? I didn't respond immediately, letting the silence stretch between us like an endless chasm. My heart ached with the weight of betrayal, yet I felt an inexplicable urge to cling to the love I thought we shared. What if you didn't just talk to him, Lila? What if it went further? It didn't, she insisted, a quiver in her voice. I swear it didn't. I was just seeking comfort, and it turned into something I didn't expect. But I don't want him, James. I want you. I looked at her, searching for any sign of deception, but all I found was anguish and regret. It felt surreal, standing there with her, as if we were two people lost in a storm, both desperately trying to hold on to the other. But the foundation of our relationship was cracked, and I was left wondering if it could ever be fixed. I need time to think, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. Lila stepped closer, desperation etched on her face. James, please don't shut me out. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Just give me a chance. But I couldn't. Not right now. I needed to gather my thoughts, to process everything I had just learned. I turned away, unable to face her, my heart heavy with betrayal and confusion. As I walked away, I could feel her gaze on me, pleading and sorrowful, but I was already slipping into a darkness I couldn't shake. I was determined to get to the bottom of this, to find out everything I could about Jay. If Lila was truly remorseful, I needed to know. I would dig deeper. I would confront this head-on, whether she liked it or not. The days dragged on in a blur of anger and disbelief. Each morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach, replaying the conversation with Lila in my head. I had wanted to believe her, that her heart still belonged to me. But the seeds of doubt had been planted, and they were growing like weeds. The only thing that was clear was that I could not let Jay take what was rightfully mine. I needed to confront him. After a sleepless night, fueled by resentment and betrayal, I resolved to find out everything I could about him. I spent hours hunched over my laptop, combing through social media profiles and searching for any scrap of information that could lead me to Jay. His last name was buried deep in Lila's texts, but once I found it, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The evening air was cool and crisp as I drove through the city to the address I had found, a rundown apartment complex on the outskirts. Each turn felt heavy with purpose, my heart pounding as I imagined the confrontation ahead. Would he be smug? Would he deny everything? Would he even care that he was invading my life? As I pulled up in front of the building, I spotted a young man leaning against the entrance, casually scrolling through his phone. He looked up as I approached, and I could feel a surge of anger rising in my chest. This was the man who had violated my trust, who had taken my wife's heart, or at least a piece of it. "Hey, you Jay?" I asked, my voice low and threatening. He looked at me, confusion flickering across his face. "Yeah. Who wants to know?" "I do," I replied, stepping closer, my fists clenched at my sides. "I'm James Monroe. Lila's husband." His expression changed instantly, and I could see the gears turning in his head. "Oh. I didn't know she was married." I took a step forward, feeling a rush of adrenaline. "You didn't know? What do you think that means? You think you can just waltz into my life and take what's mine?" Jay held up his hands defensively, his bravado fading. "Look, man, it wasn't like that. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Didn't mean for it to happen?" I echoed, my voice rising. "You think that's an excuse? You think it's okay to flirt with my wife, to make her think she can come to you when she's lonely?" "Dude, I swear I didn't mean to." I cut him off, my frustration boiling over. "You don't get to call me dude. You don't get to act like this is some casual mistake. This is my life we're talking about. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I didn't want to hurt you, man," he said, a hint of panic creeping into his voice. "I thought she was single." I let out a harsh laugh, the sound bitter. "What a convenient excuse. You thought it was just a little harmless flirting, didn't you? Just some emotional connection." "Look," Jay stammered, his eyes darting around as if he was searching for an escape. "We were just talking. I didn't think it would go anywhere." "Well, it did go somewhere," I snapped, taking another step forward. "And now you need to understand what happens when you mess with someone else's marriage." "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the images I had collected. "I want you to know that I have proof. Proof of everything you've been doing with Lila. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows." He stared at me, fear creeping into his eyes. "You wouldn't, you can't." "Oh, I can. And I will. I'll send this to her family, her friends, her colleagues. Let them know exactly what kind of person she's become, and what you've been doing to my marriage." Jay's face paled, and I could see the realization dawning on him. "You're serious." "Dead serious," I said, my voice firm. "This isn't just about you and her anymore. You brought this on yourself, and now you'll face the consequences." "I'm sorry," he pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "Please don't do this. It was just a mistake, a stupid mistake." I leaned in closer, my eyes locked onto his. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you got involved with her. You don't get to backpedal now." With that, I stepped back and turned to leave, the anger still simmering within me. I didn't want to think about how far I was willing to go, but something about the rush of taking control felt intoxicating. Over the next few days, I gathered all the evidence I could. Screenshots of Lila's messages to Jay, photos from our camera, every little thing that could paint a picture of their betrayal. Each time I clicked save on another image, the satisfaction was fleeting, but it was a distraction from the pain I felt. Finally, I sat down at my computer, ready to launch my assault. I carefully crafted an email, attaching the evidence like a weapon, ready to fire it off to everyone in Lila's life. The words flowed easily, fueled by bitterness and a desire for vengeance. Subject: the truth about Lila Monroe. Dear friends and family, I hope this message finds you well. It is with a heavy heart that I write to you about some disturbing news regarding Lila. For the past several months, she has been engaging in a secretive and inappropriate relationship with a man named Jay. I believe you deserve to know the truth about what she has been hiding from you all, and from me. Attached are some documents and images that illustrate the extent of her betrayal. I hope this will shed light on the situation and help you understand the choices she has made. Best, James Monroe. I hesitated for a moment before hitting send, my finger hovering over the mouse. A part of me felt like a coward, hiding behind a screen to lash out at the woman I once loved. But I couldn't stop the rush of adrenaline coursing through me. I was reclaiming my power, taking a stand against the betrayal that had shattered my trust. The moment I clicked send, a wave of satisfaction washed over me, a brief high that quickly turned into a sickening pit in my stomach. I watched the progress bar fill, and once it was done, I leaned back in my chair, breathless. I felt empty. The adrenaline that had fueled my actions faded, leaving behind a chilling realization: I had crossed a line, and there would be no going back. I was about to ruin the life of the woman I had once loved more than anything. But in my heart, I believed it was justified. After all, she had started this war. As I sat there in the darkness, staring at my computer screen, I wondered if this would finally bring me some peace, or if it would only deepen the wounds that had already begun to fester. The days that followed my email felt surreal. The fallout was swift and brutal, just as I had anticipated. Lila's world crumbled in a matter of hours. Friends began calling, the disbelief in their voices only amplifying my growing unease. Lila didn't even get a chance to process it. She was bombarded with questions and accusations, left to defend herself against the tidal wave of betrayal I had unleashed. I had expected some semblance of satisfaction, perhaps even a sense of victory, but as I watched her unravel, it became painfully clear that I had only succeeded in tearing apart the fabric of our lives. On the morning after I sent the email, I found myself sitting on the edge of our bed, the remnants of a once happy home surrounding me. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, illuminating the dust particles dancing in the air, but everything felt dark. The weight of what I had done pressed heavily on my chest. I could hear Lila's muffled sobs coming from the living room, a haunting melody of despair that echoed in my mind. "James!" Lila called out, her voice strained and raw. "Can you come here, please?" I took a deep breath, my heart racing as I made my way to the living room. I found her sitting on the couch, her face streaked with tears, crumpled tissues scattered around her like fallen leaves. "Did you really have to do this?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Did you have to ruin my life like this?" I crossed my arms, feeling a mix of anger and guilt. "You did this to yourself, Lila. You brought him into our lives. I'm not the one who crossed that line. I know I made mistakes," she shouted, her voice rising. "But this? You didn't have to go this far. You could have talked to me, given me a chance to explain." "I gave you a chance," I replied, trying to maintain my composure. "You lied to me. You hid everything. You didn't think I deserved the truth. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I wanted to be exposed like this?" She shook her head, her eyes filled with anguish. "I never meant to hurt you, James. I thought I could manage it. I didn't realize how deep it was getting until it was too late." I couldn't look at her anymore. Her tears were cutting through my anger, piercing through my defenses. "What did you think was going to happen?" I said, my voice low. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? That I wouldn't be hurt?" "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, her voice softer now. "I was just trying to feel something again, to connect with someone when you were so distant. But I see now how stupid that was. I see how it destroyed everything we had." I felt a pang of regret. "And what about Jay? What are you going to do about him?" She paused, wiping her tears with trembling hands. "I don't know. I don't even want to think about him right now. I just want to fix this. I want us back to where we were before." "Do you even think that's possible?" I asked, my heart heavy with uncertainty. "You broke my trust, Lila. It's not something that can just be repaired with a few apologies." "I know," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But I love you, James. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it right." "Love isn't enough anymore," I replied, the bitterness in my tone undeniable. "You shattered everything. You made me question everything we built together." She took a deep breath, her composure wavering. "I'm willing to fight for us. I'll go to counseling, I'll do whatever you need. Just don't give up on me." The desperation in her voice tugged at my heart, but I couldn't shake the hollow feeling settling deep inside. I had taken my revenge, but it had come at a cost. The pain I had inflicted upon her mirrored my own. "I don't know if I can do this," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can forgive you." With that, I turned away, the weight of my decision crushing me. I stepped out of the room, leaving Lila behind, her cries echoing in the silence. I needed air. I needed to think. But as I stepped outside, the cool breeze did nothing to soothe the turmoil inside me. I took a walk through the neighborhood, the familiar sights feeling foreign now. I had spent years building a life with Lila, our dreams, our plans, but all of it felt tainted. I passed the park where we had picnicked on lazy Sundays, the cafe where we'd shared countless cups of coffee, the very places that had once been filled with laughter now felt like haunted memories. When I finally returned home, the atmosphere felt thick with tension. Lila was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the wall, her eyes puffy and red from crying. I didn't know what to say. "James," she said quietly, breaking the silence. "Can we at least talk about what happened with Jay? About what you found?" I rubbed the back of my neck, torn between anger and sadness. "What's there to talk about? You made your choice. You let someone else into our lives, and you put our marriage at risk." I was confused, she insisted, her voice cracking. "I was lonely. You've been so focused on work and everything else that I felt invisible. I didn't know how to reach out to you. I thought I could find that connection elsewhere, and that was your solution." I snapped, my frustration boiling over. "You thought betraying your husband was the way to solve your problems. I didn't think it would go this far," she cried, anguish etching her features. "I thought I could talk to him without it meaning anything. I thought I could just vent my feelings without crossing the line. I never expected to develop feelings for him." Her confession cut deep. "So you admit it then? You had feelings for him?" "Yes, but it doesn't mean I love him," she pleaded. "I love you, James. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I'm begging you to see that I was lost and confused. I want to make this work. I need you to believe that." "Believe what?" I asked, incredulity lacing my voice. "That you won't do it again? That you'll somehow forget about him? You're asking me to overlook this like it's some minor mistake." "I don't expect you to overlook it," she said, desperation creeping into her tone. "But please, can we at least try? Can we go to counseling together? I'll do anything." The idea of counseling was daunting. Could we really fix this? Could we piece back together what had been shattered? I looked at Lila, her eyes filled with hope mixed with fear, and felt a flicker of longing for the woman I once knew. But the memory of her betrayal loomed large, suffocating any semblance of hope. "Right now, I don't know if I want to try," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "I need space, Lila. I need to think about what I want and what this means for us." Her face fell, and I could see the anguish wash over her. "Please, don't give up on us," she said, her voice trembling. "I know I've made mistakes, but I'm willing to do anything to fix this. I love you. I need you. I need time," I repeated, the words feeling like a finality. I turned away, retreating into the solitude of our bedroom. As I sat on the edge of the bed, the silence was deafening. I had exacted my revenge, but now it felt like I had lost everything. I thought I would feel empowered, vindicated, but instead, I felt an overwhelming emptiness. I had hurt the woman I loved, and while I thought that exposing her infidelity would bring me peace, it only deepened the chasm between us. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across the room, I found myself questioning everything. Was there a way back? Was there a chance for us to heal, or was I destined to walk away from the wreckage of our marriage? The answers eluded me, leaving me in a haze of uncertainty and regret, a hollow victory that felt like a loss.